wrestling fans, welcome to PWR Weekly, the man they call Meathead, the lovely Linda K, and the busted open of PWR. It's Matthew Thomas. Good morning, Matthew. How you doing?
Good morning. I just hope I don't get any blood this week all over my festive Braun Strowman sweater.
Hey, you know, there's nothing like the express of Braun Strowman. Linda K, how is it going?
I'm doing tremendous, as I always say. Anticipating Christmas this week. I cannot believe this upcoming weekend. Still got a lot to do.
A lot to do. We got a lot to talk about here. But first off, let's talk about the sponsor that Linda and I are wearing. You know, I don't know where Matthew, if he didn't get the memo, but Linda, tell us about who sponsors the program.
That would be our great friends at Collar and Elbow. Make sure to go to collarandelbowbrand.com. Check out the latest and greatest in wrestling street fashions. I'm also wearing a Collar and Elbow worldwide.
Put it on the glass.
There. Of course, not too late to get those great Christmas gifts. Check it out, collarandelbowbrand.com. And to save a little extra cash, who does not want to save extra cash during the holidays, use the promo code LindaK. That's LINDAKAY to save 10% off your order.
And I know that open enrollment is that still going? I'm not quite sure. I know that you always can get supplemental, but Linda, you got some details?
Yes, another great friend of ours, another sponsor. That would be ProWrestlingInsurance.com. Visit our friend Chris at ProWrestlingInsurance.com. Yes, open enrollment technically did end this past week, but that's for like your annual health insurance going to the next year. Supplemental coverage, and that's accident injury. You can get that as low as $8 a month. You can get that any time of year. You don't have to be a pro wrestler. It could be for anybody. And for event promoters, there's also event insurance available.
Yeah, that's huge.
As well as life insurance that ProWrestlingInsurance.com can offer. Make sure your family is protected. Visit Chris, ProWrestlingInsurance.com. He'll fill you in.
All right, perfect. We need to fill everyone in. I know this kind of popped on Wednesday, I think it was, of last week. There was a title change on NXT with the women's division Tuesday night of last week, and then early Wednesday morning, poof, gone by. The big news of the entire week, Mandy Rose no longer with World Wrestling Entertainment. Mandy being released. It's not a fans-only website. It's not marks only like we were at Collar and Elbow here, but she had a separate kind of gig going, and it was behind a paywall, and the content that was on there, I had to believe that WWE's been well aware of this for a long time, but the content pretty much was skewing towards the world of Cinemax after 10 o'clock at night, let's say. Buff Bagwell on his real life adventures in Atlanta kind of way. Linda K, have you seen any of the pictures that have been purported to be the cause for Mandy's release?
No, I have not. It's just unfortunate. I mean, Mandy Rose, the face of NXT, and like what
the body as well.
Stars. Absolutely. I mean, she was my top female star of WWE this year, and I mean, women's wrestling as well. I mean, period. She is tremendous. She's got the look. She's got the talk, the walk. She's done so well. I mean, just in the ring too, excelling from where she was when she was in the main roster, going to NXT and really taking that title and that reign to another level. I mean, she was at 413 days when the title dropped this week. And what she did, just, the faction itself, Toxic Attraction, bringing it to that level. So that being said, no, I have not seen the pictures. I mean, like what you do behind closed doors is what you do. Like, everyone do whatever you want to do. Although I don't know internally, what was said, what you can't do. As you mentioned, WWE, may have known of this, but maybe just not to that level. Don't know the whole story, but it's just unfortunate what happened. But I definitely still see a lot, for the future.
Her name's on fire. Her name's on fire right now. She's crossing all the news outlets, including DirtySheets.com, and the owner and proprietor of DirtySheets.com, Matthew Thomas. Matthew, is there a double standard when it comes to WWE? Because a young lady who had some videos released, obviously, what she did behind closed doors, kept her job after a while. And to be completely honest, WWE used to be in bed with Playboy and purposely push forward their talents to get naked for magazines.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's several different conversations to be had here. So, first and foremost, from a WWE legal perspective, you got to think this is potentially something that has been addressed before, and we don't know the language of the contracts, what they can, what they can't do. So I can't really speak to that. And I think kind of what you were referencing was potentially the page stuff. I think that's a little bit different. That was not monetized. That was a straight up leak. That was something that was getting out there that, shouldn't have.
But if you want to talk about language in their contract, wasn't the NXT Women's Championship involved in some of those videos?
Yeah, that's very true.
You wonder why the belts were cleaned up.
Well, I mean, it also involved was a former College of Charleston alumni, but so that's that conversation. The other thing is, I think the double standard that's what this is going to bring up is not just as it pertains to female talent and kind of where they skew 20 years ago. You got to look at more recent stuff. You got to look at people who have had multiple DUIs that are still gainfully employed and being pushed. I mean, you've got
pushed isn't even the right word.
Yeah.
Prominently featured as the face of the company.
Yeah. You've got people that have, teetered all kinds of legal lines with criminal activity that doesn't seem to be the deal breaker. But this does. I think this, if I had to kind of give my opinion as to why this happened and some of the other stuff didn't, I think potential maybe sponsorship issues, maybe where they're going as a company as a whole. I mean, we're not too far away from that Stone Cold interview from 2016 where Triple H addressed the China thing.
Right.
And basically said, hey, the reason at the time she wasn't going in was because he didn't want his children Googling her name, basically. So I mean, we've kind of
he flipped on that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But I still think there is a little bit potential of that kind of attitude and perception. I don't know, but Mandy is poised to be a big player for another company right now, I think, because the name is on the tip of everybody's tongue, but Mandy, in my opinion, was probably the most prominent star in the NXT brand. And you could make the case, even though on the NXT roster, I think when you really look at the entire women's roster, you could make the case at the end of 2022 that she was one of the biggest stars in the women's division in that company. So I think the concern here for WWE is they let somebody go that could be a big disruptor in the industry. I mean, that is, it's prime for an AEW or even an Impact to pick her up. And I think the person that lands that is probably going to be the person that's like, all right, do your own thing, make your own money on the side. Because, I mean, when you look at the numbers of what some of those, websites behind a paywall they're doing, I mean, you're eclipsing what they're potentially making in the WWE, what they're making on an NXT contract. So I think, somebody that's like, whether it be an Impact, I mean, whether it be an AEW or an Impact or whoever that says, hey, do your own thing, I think you've got a big draw there.
Let's talk about that because, I mean, somebody like a Tommy Dreamer has said out loud, look, Mandy, you're a star. We want you here. So Mandy Rose, whatever your contract situation is, if it's not going to be AEW, call me, DM me, slide in my DMs. You will have a job. Now, we're going to talk about kind of twofold here. We're going to take it from Mandy. We're going to move over to another talent.
Can I just bring up one more thing before we talk about Mandy?
Linda.
Obviously, WWE is still PG, but remember the talks about it going to TV 14? Is that still in the works?
That's a great, thought.
I don't know what the contract limitations are, but just saying.
That's a great thought, yeah. But NXT wasn't. Remember, the talk was that Raw would go TV 14.
Okay, thank you.
So who knows? I mean, maybe it's a whole story. Maybe we're all being worked. It is wrestling. But this seems to be a legitimate story. Now, let's make our way from Mandy Rose into Chris Jericho. We had talked a little bit off camera, and we're going to bring this on camera now, that Chris Jericho the executives at Warner Brothers did not want Jericho appearing on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view because they believe he's too big a star. The TV network having such a huge influence on what happens on the TV product, would an AEW bring a alleged pornographer in Mandy Rose? And I'm not saying she is, but if we're going out on what is being alleged, would an AEW Warner Brothers allow someone like Mandy Rose to come on? Would she have to go to Impact Wrestling? Linda Kay.
I feel that she would be able to still be in AEW,
and I want her there. Yeah.
Right. And I feel like, I don't know the parameters and everything, but I feel like Tony Khan and the other executives would be like, sure, welcome you with open arms. But you did address the whole Warner, again.
Because remember, there's a certain tag team. There's a couple boys that are not allowed on AEW television because of things that they've had happen in their life and things they've said in their socials, according to Warner Brothers Television.
I guess it'll have to come down to that, really, because, ideally, I'm sure WWE did not want to release Mandy Rose, of course, but due to internal things where there's just, a very big piece internally, business-wise, monetary-wise, the decision was made, and that was to release her. So, I think a lot of people expect Mandy to go to, AEW. I said OVW. Hey, come to OVW too.
OVW would pop huge for that.
Yeah. But I guess we'll see what happens internally. I do believe it is the 90-day non-compete clause, just because she did have that full-time contract.
Depends on the contract. Yeah. Remember, it's an NXT contract. Remember what happened with, was it Finn Balor? No, not Finn Balor. It was Aleister Black was working on the main roster with an NXT contract. So his was only a 30-day non-compete. So, Matthew Thomas, we don't know any of the contract details, obviously, going on with Mandy Rose, but could AEW be all about toxic Mandy?
I think very possibly. And, I don't know. I see some of their corporate involvement being a little bit more of the Jericho thing is wanting to keep your top star under a certain light.
Should they have that much influence on the company?
Yeah, I don't know. And AEW right now doesn't, if they're going to get involved in that type of stuff, like look at the AEW product. We had another F-bomb that aired live on Dynamite last week. On Rampage this week.
And you mean fusilli pasta, right?
Yeah, I had some for dinner last night, no lie.
Oh, nice.
On
fusilli pasta.
On Rampage this week, we literally had somebody bleeding from his ear, somebody else eating that blood, and then swapping that blood open mouth with his wife. So I don't know, a few photos behind a paywall is really going to get him up in arms.
Okay. Well, you make a great point. And obviously I didn't want to bring that back up again, but there you are. Hey, let's move to Raw from this last Monday, which was in Milwaukee. Back in the day, Linda and Matthew, I used to tell you guys all the time, I geek for, continued references in Milwaukee. I'd chop up those audios and whatever. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Linda, got a hell of a show at Raw Monday night.
Yes, I was there live, enjoying my Monday Night Raw home. Great crowd, some energy. Our mayor was there right at ringside with his family. So that was cool.
Wait, who's the mayor now? Is it Cavalier Johnson? Is that right?
I found out that he's a huge WWE fan, a huge wrestling fan. So
okay.
They were panning over to him and his family, his kids. They're all into it. So that was kind of cool. I didn't see any. And again, I don't know if the Bucks players are on the road, but I just enjoy over the years sometimes to see the Packers there, or in Green Bay, you see some Bucks players, Brewers players.
Sure.
But I digress. I think the biggest moment for me. I mean, I don't know if you were trying to go down the line, but
no, we're just going to touch on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this did open the show, and that was that reveal of Alexa Bliss having some
fiendish kind of
yes, I did see the flash go off on the Jumbotron, and that was when she was about to hug Bianca after she became the new number one contender for the title, and almost got her in Twisted Bliss and stopped. Thought that was very well done.
Matthew Thomas, your thoughts on Raw overall from last Monday?
I enjoyed it. I think Milwaukee got a really, really solid show. You had some stuff.
And a lot of Milwaukee reference, too. I mean, again, say Milwaukee more, if you don't mind, please.
No, absolutely. You had some good wrestling. You had some storylines developed there. So overall, a really, really solid show. And I mean, I look at where Raw has really come this year. Early last year, I attended a Raw in Denver. And I got to be honest with you, it was probably the worst WWE event I'd ever attended.
Well, you had a 47-minute game show you had to watch.
Yeah, and it was just they were treading water, in my opinion, at the time. And you also had to pour out. So they would serve you a beer in a can, right? But you could not take the can on the floor. So when you got to the floor, you would have to empty the can in a cup. So there's just a lot of things that just weren't working. But where they have turned it around, I mean, there's still 3 hours of content every Monday, but what they've been able to do with those 3 hours of content, and more importantly, these audiences, man, where these audiences are at right now, as far as energy level, as far as stuff they are, purely invested in. I think at the moment, SmackDown's got a little bit of a tighter show with kind of what they're doing on the, on the rosters and stuff, but also too, it's a 2-hour show. So you don't have as much, potential fluff there, but overall,
I love a fluffer.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. But overall, WWE's putting out, good. I was going to say 5 hours of content each week, but NXT is
fanatic about the 2 on Tuesday nights.
So, a good 7 hours of entertainment each week.
Yeah, and let's talk about NXT real quick. The reign is over. Mandy Rose losing the belt to Roxy from Ring of Honor, now in NXT. Roxanne, your new NXT Women's Champion, Matthew.
Yeah, I don't know if this was the direction they were inevitably going. Mandy's run has been absolutely fantastic, and it's the circumstance that they're in right now. So hopefully, hopefully this is going to be a good run here. I mean, she's she's excellent talent, very, very young. I mean, this is potential one of many title reigns for her.
Linda Kay, Toxic Attraction was more than just Mandy Rose. It was the girls as well that follow her. What happens now that Mandy Rose is out?
I feel they can still keep Toxic Attraction as a strong tag team, and lots of different tag teams there for the women's tag.
How do they explain it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking NXT does a lot of vignettes, not just backstage, but like think about before major, like their pay-per-views or the special monthly specials, like for Halloween Havoc, whatnot. They do a montage of the talents.
Can you get a montage?
Yes, either on the phone or out and about, and just kind of really talk.
Mandy Rose could be run over in the parking lot by a Dodge Challenger.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Or a Hummer. They're going more to that Hummer now.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I feel that they should show them sad at why, or they show that their gratitude that their leader has, gone on to do some other things. I don't know if an angle is bigger and brighter. I don't know, but I feel that.
Oh, I got brain flash. Could they do like they did to old boy in Back to the Future 2 and just put old clips of him on new shows and then have him running over Toxic Attraction, breaking the whole group?
Oh man, I don't know.
Crispin Glover, that's who it was.
I feel that they'll still keep Toxic Attraction and NXT as a strong women's tag team. As far as that transition, I feel that while they're obviously deeply saddened by it, I feel that moving forward, just to kind of put everything past what happened this week, quicker, just have the two of them just really say how happy they, for Mandy that she's moved along to something else, and now it's their time at NXT. I feel that's the direction that they will go. But I will say that with Roxanne Perez, I mean, what a year she has had. I mean, she won that Breakout Star tournament. She was a tag team champ. Women's champ. She was that first Iron Woman winner, and now
and she was a Ring of Honor Women's Champion as well. Roxy
here too, and now with Booker T down there at ringside, I mean, she's
and that's his girl.
Proteges, so it's insane. I mean, let's keep this momentum. I mean, going for the next year. I mean, what a year it was. I hope that we can keep things strong for Roxanne Perez there. And there is New Year's Eve on there again. I don't know if this was true, but talks that was when Roxanne and Mandy were supposed to face each other.
Yeah.
Or if the titles were supposed to change, I don't know. But makes things really interesting for Roxanne Perez being, again, what a year she's had, and quite a year to try to triumph that going into 2023.
Absolutely. Hey, let's go into 2023 talking about winter's coming. Winter came all over Wednesday night, and we had a title match. We had a extra match in the best of 7, Death Triangle and the Elite. Also had Jericho in action. You had Ruby Soho taking on Tay Mello, and you had the House of Black. Linda, the big surprise, Chris Jericho wrestled, and he wrestled a match against a guy we've never heard of before in the name of Action Andretti. I think it's Andretti.
I was thinking Andretti. Yeah.
Yeah, and the winner of the match was not Chris Jericho. In a clean victory, Action Andretti defeats Chris Jericho. That guy instantly made a star, Linda.
Absolutely. The crowd was really behind him as well. I didn't do too much research on Action Andretti as of right now, but I assume he was a local talent. The crowd was really behind him. Believe they were chanting, I don't know if it was his shoot name, or maybe they were chanting Andretti. I was trying to do something at the same time watching Dynamite, but yeah, we got a holy shit chant going out as well. And yeah, it was kind of a wonky move there where Jericho might have landed on his head, but still it was a clean pin. And it's wow. I mean, especially coming off the heels of losing the ROH championship for Jericho. I mean, again, no matter what, Jericho, he can lose all the time and it won't matter. He's still top star.
Yeah.
I'm figuring that Action Andretti is probably somebody that Jericho has already, gotten his attention and wanted to help and wanted to work and help
And that
bring up.
Yeah. Literally was the conversation that Jericho said, boy, oh boy, this guy's going to be a star. Let me work with him and let me see what I can do to get him going. There's always this talk that Jericho is in these segments with the young kids and these segments with the young kids, trying to keep himself going. Jericho is doing business the right way. He's the Jericho rub. I mean, Matthew, we've talked about this for years, how Jericho has brought guys along. Look what he did with MJF and the whole the dinner and dancing segment that he did during the pandemic. So Jericho
and Guevara as well.
Yeah,
He's done
yeah. Yeah, literally had Sammy Guevara with him on day 1 and joined the Inner Circle. Matthew, let's talk about the best of 7 series. It's the Death Triangle up 3-1 on the Elite.
Yeah, now this was fun as well. And now that after this match, we're gonna start getting some stipulations into our next couple. We have let's see, it's no holds barred, I think.
It's no DQ.
No DQ this week, and I don't think they've really pushed it, but the little note there, if you freeze the screen on the calendar, if they go to 6, which is supposed to happen here in Denver, Colorado, I believe it's Falls Count Anywhere, which may ultimately lead to me getting involved. So
it's quite possible. I heard you might be ringside at that one with a big Matthew Thomas fathead.
Yep, absolutely.
Because there's nothing better than the guy holding a sign of his head and holding the exact same head.
Well, no, I'm just going to try to make my head much fatter between now and 2 weeks, So I'm going to put like marshmallows in my cheeks and whatnot.
There you go.
I'm going to try
you can hold a lot of nuts in your mouth. Yeah, exactly. Right.
An organic fat head here. So.
Right. Well, you just be careful as they're at ringside. You got to watch for some flying bodies, some blood, some spit. Some
and it's not a WWE ringside either. I mean, it's just a aluminum rail. So I mean, that rail will be moved. Here's the thing I don't